Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the August 26th, 2024 edition of the Deluxe Premarket Prep Session. Why is it Deluxe? Because every Monday we go over what we expect out of the week ahead, lay down our expectations, go over any important economic events that are happening, any symposiums, any FOMC minutes, any Powell testimonies, anything like that, right? We lay the groundwork to make sure we know how to order our steps throughout the week, which is absolutely paramount to surviving and thriving in markets. And then we also go over the important news, notes, and analysis that are key to making sure you're consistently profitable here across these markets and consistently learning and growing and executing. Markets are a mirror, right? They will very, very clearly reflect who you are, your shortcomings, right? Your proclivities, all of those. It will clearly reflect them right back to you. So it's a great development tool as well in terms of personal development, right? Because a lot of people recognize the things that they struggle with in real life are magnified when they have to engage in markets because of the nature of markets themselves. So that's one reason why I love them, is because they push me to become a better version of myself and to do the most with the life that I have. If you think that you're unhappy, think about being unhappy for the rest of your life, right? And hopefully that makes you uncomfortable enough to move beyond the fear that you're stuck in, because a lot of the fears that we have and a lot of the cages that we live in are built on our own, right? They're of our own devices, and the fears that you hold on to are the limits that you cannot surpass. So it's important, to make sure that when you learn things from markets and from market interactions, that you grow from them, right? That you always look to try and take the most responsibility possible, despite living in a world full of victimization, right? Everybody, it's so popular to be a victim nowadays in 2024, right? If you're a Democrat, you're victimized. If you're a Republican, you're victimized. If you're a white man, you're victimized. If you're a black man, you're victimized. Everyone wants to be the victim, right? And we all have our own, kind of uh, adversity to triumph over. But at the end of the day, the more ownership that you take of that and the more accountability that you take of that, the more control you have over where you're headed. Your predominant thought is where your life is going to head. So as long as that thought is faced toward things that are positive, toward doing the right things, as you continue to do things to you, train your body and rewire your brain to be better at those things, right? Neuroplasticity. It's not as easy once you get older, but that's why it's important to be consistent, right? I rewired my brain into doing a lot of things that I was not able to do in the past easily, right? That came from me actively rewiring my brain and not just saying, well, I'm just hot-headed, right? Or I just don't have patience, or I just don't this, I just don't that. Adopt practices that allow you to rewire your brain, right? Whether that's you have some, deep breathing exercise you do to calm down, right? Adopt practices that allow you to react a different way that will eventually fully rewire your brain so that that is your new normal. That's what we want to do here each and every day, is rewire our brain to a new normal that the person we envision ourselves to be will have. Ooh, what do we got? There we go. Right, dropping bombs, dropping mics left and right. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Once you know things are possible, it's on you to accomplish them. So that's what we're looking to do here each and every day, each and every week. Rewire our brain a little bit, make it a little bit easier for us to be grateful, make it a little bit easier for us to communicate, right? Make it a little bit easier for us to step outside of our comfort zone, make it a little bit easier for us to have grace with ourselves, make it a little bit easier for us to have compassion with ourselves. Every time you do little actions and you do them consistently, it helps that become your new normal. So let's continue to crush things and sculpt our new normals and sculpt ourselves and close the gap each and every day. And I'm excited to do that here this week. August flew by, right? It was here and now it's gone. We're headed into September, headed into fall, all that great stuff. So yeah, it should be a fun time. Should be a fun time. In terms of my personal schedule here, I will be heading out of town Friday. Friday. So I won't be here on Friday. We'll see kind of what markets have for us, heading into that so that everyone's amply prepared. But it is also football season and it's time for the annual draft trip with the boys. So off headed to the beach, but we're going to make sure that we get in what the market has for us before I depart. So Andrea, Alicia, Coco, Paul, Tiffany, Detrice, good morning. All great, amazing people. Let's dive into what we got going on here with our week ahead news, and then we'll get into our Monday specific news. Now, the spotlight this week will be on NVIDIA's earnings report, which has the potential to move markets. The chip making giant's highly anticipated report could have broad implications for the AI growth story. Wedbush Securities' Dan Ives believes the NVIDIA report makes the week the most important of the year for the stock market this year. Hmm, that sounds like a little bit hyperbolic to me. The earnings calendar for the week ahead also includes key reports from Salesforce, ticker CRM, which is an interesting name, CrowdStrike, ticker Crowd, Best Buy, ticker BBY, and then Dollar General, ticker DG, and Crowd, by the way, the ticker is CRWD. Um, Also on deck is the Bureau of Economic Analysis's PE report, which will be the latest one ahead of the Federal Reserve's next decision on interest rates on September 18th, where we widely expect a cut. Um, so yeah, we'll see if the data continues to back the widely accepted and expected decision of the Fed coming mid-September. Earnings news, earnings spotlight, Monday, August 26th, BHP Group, Trip.com, not really any big names. No big names on Tuesday. Wednesday, biggest name, right? NVIDIA. We also have Salesforce, and we also have CrowdStrike and HP. We've got Okta as well. Got a few, highly ranking, very important cogs at the Okta machine that are a part of the Stock Options Made Easy community. So we got some Okta in the house. JM Smucker, Pure Storage. So we've got the most household names on Wednesday. And then Thursday, Dell Technologies. So that's probably the biggest one. And then Marvell Technology, which is like the little brother to NVIDIA AMD. That'll be one to keep an eye on there. And then Dollar General on Friday, Best Buy, Gap, Ulta Beauty, another one, right? That we've been looking at, charting a little bit recently, and then Lululemon. So Wednesday and Thursday, definitely the biggest days here on the schedule. Let me see here. I also want to check, and I believe, okay, nice. And by the way, everybody, since it's Labor Day, right, holiday weekend, the market will be closed on Monday. So the market will be closed on Monday. So we got a short week next week, right? So don't expect to be in here waiting for the opening bell on Monday. We'll have to wait for Tuesday for that. Let's see what else we have here in terms of the week ahead. Mm-mm, nothing too important. So let's go ahead and dive into our Monday specific news. We're also going to look at our economic calendar here. Um, so kicking it off Monday, August 26th. Durable goods orders, nah, nothing really important happening here. Tuesday, consumer confidence at 10 a.m. That'll be important on Tuesday. It won't be, to the level of like CPI data, but consumer confidence is definitely something that can impact how we move. Wednesday, we got a Fed president speaking, but it's not anyone that can move markets, and they speak at 6 p.m. So of no consequence to us. Thursday, jobless claims data, GDP second revision. So we get GDP data on Thursday. So right now the calendar, is looking like okay, Tuesday we have consumer confidence during market hours, right at 10 a.m. That's something that can affect how we move. Wednesday we get Nvidia, right? Nvidia earnings. That's going to be the biggest thing. Thursday we get revisions to GDP, so we get GDP data and jobless claims. And then Friday, we get personal income, personal spending, PCE, right? So we get PCE data on Friday at 8:30 a.m. before the market opens. And we got consumer sentiment, that final number at 10 a.m. as well. So PCE on Friday, that'll be a big one. NVIDIA on Wednesday, that'll be a big one. Both of those things will impact how we move and be significant here this week as we are in this weird limbo space around all-time highs that can be very difficult to navigate, right? I underscored that heavily last week. I'll underscore it again here this week. Um, make sure you're playing what's right for you. Not every opportunity is a good opportunity specifically for you, right? If someone says, hey, I've got this I don't know. I've got this huge, like 75-inch mega speaker, and I know you love music. So if you want to come get it, it's yours. But then you realize you drive like a Fiat, and you're like, hey, listen, I actually don't have the capacity right now to accept this, even though this might be a great opportunity for me. You've got to make sure that as you go through and you're navigating markets, you learn just by navigating, okay, well, this based off of the sentiment probably isn't something that I should be involved in right now, right? Or based off of you actually being able to sustain that you can. Um, but just make sure that you're very picky with kind of what you do with markets here nowadays with the conditions that we have going on. And also communicate. Communication is huge, right? 99% of the issues in the world stem from communication, right? If we could all communicate in some way that wasn't, with crap and BS laced all around and within, we'd all be a lot happier. But that also includes communication with ourselves, right? So be very clear and honest with yourself and the way that you talk to yourself, and then also communicate with others, right? Because humans are we're beings that thrive off of social interaction. Even if you say, "Oh, I'm an introvert," da da da, rewire your brain to be more extroverted, right? You can still do just a little bit more to get you out there. So during times like this, where again, we're up near all time highs, we're going to move weirdly, things are going to be sketchy, right? You can look at individual names to play a little bit more than the major indices because the major indices up here are going to be weird, right? IWM paid us very nicely out of the wazoo on Friday. Spine QQQ still bopping up and down, moving around, getting all this volatility, right? So, yeah, just kind of make sure that you continue to bring last week's sentiment into this week because we've got big data coming with Nvidia's earnings. We've got PCE data that's coming. So up here in these all-time high areas, we could just be bouncing around and kind of just jerking up and down and doing our thing. So the big thing is that we can't change anything that markets do. We can just change what we do, right? So if you're not liking the results that you're getting up here and how you're moving, choose to move differently, right? Choose to move differently, focus on different things, and actively take in the opportunities that are in front of you, right? We want so much sometimes to just be put on autopilot and just have, I'm just somebody's going to tell me to do this and tell me to do that. We have to make decisions for ourselves, right? Each and every day. That is the gift of adulthood and the gift of being cognizant and alive, right? There are people right now who are vegetables. They can't decide anything for themselves. They don't have that luxury, right? So if you are given that luxury, use that thing between your ears because you were sent here with everything you need in order to succeed, right? But expectations are a big thing. So it's important that we continue to maintain the great expectations that we've had that have been pretty accurate when it comes to markets and how they've been moving up here. Now let's get into specifically our Monday specific news. So top news, Middle East on edge. Oil prices will be on watch as Israel and Lebanese paramilitary group Hezbollah engaged in the heaviest missile exchange on Sunday following 10 months of warfare, fueling fears of a wider conflict in the Middle East. The exchange of fire does not appear to have set off a long feared war, but tensions remain high. What happened? Hezbollah launched hundreds of missiles at northern Israel in retaliation for the assassination of a senior commander last month. Israel said it launched airstrikes targeting rocket launchers across southern Lebanon to stop an imminent Hezbollah attack. At least 3 people were killed, including a fighter with the Hezbollah allied Amal group, and 2 were wounded in the strikes on Lebanon. Lieutenant Colonel Nadav Shoshani, an Israeli military spokesperson, said an initial assessment showed very little damage in Israel. De-escalation, both sides have signaled their intention of avoiding further escalation. Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah said that the group had targeted an intelligence base and the operation had concluded. Quote, at this current stage, the country, Lebanon, can take a breath, he added, seeking to assuage fears of repercussions. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said he spoke with U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin on avoiding regional escalation and working together to ensure Israel's defense. Now, oil on watch. Oil futures were higher on Monday. Front month NYMEX crude for October delivery rose 2.7% at the time of writing, and October Brent crude was up 2.5%. Warren Patterson, head of commodity strategy at ING, said that the rise was driven by Fed Chair Powell's speech and Middle East developments. Quote, we would expect any rally on the back of these Middle East developments to be rather short lived, except if Iran were to become more directly involved, and this would raise oil supply risk more meaningfully. So that's, really the only thing that kind of impacts us in terms of being involved with markets, right? Is, seeing, okay, is this something that goes on to continue to affect the energy sector or not? So we'll see if they stay, committed to this de-escalation or not. If they do, and things get back down, then there's a less, risk for oil supply. But if things continue to ramp up and heat up, I don't know how they get any hotter than, launching tons and tons of missiles at each other from short range. But you know, uh, that's the world we live in. So we'll see. And then watching energy, I've still got Thinkorswim loading up here in the background. It's been something that has been, more so silently starting to push, silently starting to get it moving. But yeah, as things, continue to either escalate or de-escalate, we'll be kept abreast on that and can respond accordingly. In terms of trending news, Telegram CEO arrest. I saw this. Quite a polarizing headline. French authorities on Saturday arrested Pavel Durov, billionaire CEO of messaging app Telegram, who is reportedly still being detained for questioning. The arrest is part of an investigation into an alleged lack of moderation on Telegram, which police claim has allowed criminal activity to continue undetected on the app. I mean, I don't doubt it, right? But it's like the same thing that makes Telegram important and valuable is the same thing that also makes it such a threat in that there, apparently is no government backdoor into Telegram, which allows, trafficking and drug sales and all that to happen. But also, like, does everyone want the government to be able to see their correspondence? I personally don't care. I'm not on here doing anything crazy. I understand that there's inherently a risk. There's an inherent risk just being alive, right? Each and every day. So there are civil liberties. I forget what, philosopher said it, but once you enter into society, there are certain liberties that you give up, right? As a part of being a part of society. If you weren't a part of society, right, and we were all still cave people running around, someone could go and murder someone else, and then there is absolutely no consequence, right? So like we live with the luxury of knowing that the larger person that passes us on the street will have to think twice if they want to just steal our car, right? Why? Because there are repercussions, because there are systems in place. So it's like this argument, this debate regarding Telegram kind of calls into argument the fundamental principles of society. How much do we trade off for the security of not living in anarchy, right? How much is too much of a trade-off? Um, so let's see here. Quote, Durov has nothing to hide, said Telegram. It is absurd to claim that a platform or its owner are responsible for abuse of that platform. It is kind of wild. Unless he's on the platform, specifically messaging involved in these activities, I don't really understand why he was arrested. The arrest has prompted widespread backlash, including from Elon Musk, Rumble CEO Chris Pavlovsky, and Edward Snowden. You already know, right? Especially during election season, they're all over this. M&A news, antitrust showdown. So in terms of like that news, there's nothing that directly affects markets or anything that I'm looking to do. It affects some sketchy altcoins, right? I think Telegram has a coin that plunged because of the arrest. But I'm not involved in a lot of altcoins and I'm not in that space. Um, but yeah, that was the only kind of like repercussion that it had in terms of any type of market. M&A news, antitrust showdown. Kroger will be battling in court with the Federal Trade Commission today over its plan to block the supermarket behemoth's $24.6 billion purchase of rival Albertsons, whose ticker is ACI. The hearing in Portland, Oregon is scheduled to end with closing arguments on September 13th, with the judge's decision expected 10 days after the trial ends. The FTC sued to block the combination in February, saying the deal would lead to higher prices for consumers. The companies have been trying to appease the FTC by offering to divest hundreds of stores to make the deal more palatable for the regulator. So, these regulatory bodies have been very, strong in their stance. They haven't been letting a lot of merger and acquisition deals go through. We don't really do a lot of trading based off of like merger and acquisition deals, anyways. But that's just kind of the risk whenever you are buying shares of something long term and you see that, oh, this is being acquired by this. Is it? Because more than likely, that deal is not going through, at least under this administration. Space news, astronauts return. Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams were sent to orbit on Boeing's Starliner in June. uh, who were sent to orbit on Boeing Starliner in June will remain at the International Space Station until next year before hitching a ride back home on a SpaceX spacecraft. This would extend their stay in orbit from the original planned 1 week to about 8 months. That is wild. Imagine you were supposed to go on a trip for a week and you end up being gone for over half a year. Those are the type of traffic jams that you end up with when you're an astronaut. The decision comes as Boeing and NASA have struggled to decide on the astronauts' return journey amid safety concerns over Starliner. Yeah, like Boeing, man. Like, can we please get some alternative to Boeing? Or like, once AI reaches a certain point, I feel like we just make, as long as it can be regulated, we just make AI the CEO of Boeing because like Boeing just it needs to have someone heading it that is just not corrupt because there is just widespread corruption that is systemic, right, to this company and he extends to every reach of it. But it just sucks because like we need it, and that's what's so crazy about these sectors that are so important, but there's such a high cost to entry. Like it's just such a high cost to build up the infrastructure and the supply chains and all that to create rockets and to create planes. And it's just like, man, can we just take some defense money and put it toward that? Like us just creating planes that don't crash or rockets that don't have trouble making it to and fro stations. Um, yeah, crazy stuff. So, meanwhile, the empty Starliner capsule is expected to undock from the ISS in a week or two and begin its return home on autopilot. So they get to watch their Uber home depart without them. In terms of today's markets in Asia, Japan down 0.7%, Hong Kong up 1.1, China flat, India up 0.8, the footy in London up 0.5%, Paris up 0.2, Frankfurt down 0.2, the Dow up 0.1, S&P up 0.2, Nasdaq up 0.1, crude oil up 2.3%, gold up 0.6, Bitcoin down 0.3 to $63,774 per coin. What else is happening? Rapid fire stock news rundown here to close us out. Analysts see string of 25 basis point rate cuts after Powell's latest speech. So still not necessarily pricing in 50. If we do get 50, that will be an upside, surprise. We'll also see how this PCE data serves to kind of further affect maybe what the Fed does here. We get that, of course, this week. Bronfman wants Paramount to partner with big tech for streaming. Chinese tech giants continue AI splurge despite U.S. chip curbs. Oil majors, OPEC Plus, face risk as crude supply outstrips demand. Fire at Rivian's Illinois plant damages several vehicles. XPeng, ticker XPEV, soars as 6%. Soars 6% as CEO boosts stake in EV maker. Deadpool and Wolverine retakes number one spot at the box office. This sector is seen as being most impacted by the U.S. Election. So that's some um, article that they have here. Looks like energy is the one that they are, saying is serves to be most impacted. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Kamala has been, big against fracking and she's taken stands against that in the past. Once everybody gets in the White House, their tune changes on a lot of different things. So we'll see if it remains the same. But obviously, Trump doesn't give a crap. So he's gonna let all of the, at least like environmental wise, he's gonna let all the fracking and this and that occur. So one is better for energy in terms of removing red tape, and then the other one puts more red tape up. That's just probably something that we all expected as well. So not major news here, but it's one that's probably most impacted by who's in the White House. Eli Lilly, right? And then Novo, ticker NVO, to maintain lead in weight loss market. Eli Lilly, our cash cow. And then stocks most loved and shunned by hedge and mutual funds. So that's just some article they have up. But that wraps us up here for the first pre-market prep session of this week, one of the last ones of August. Let's make sure that we continue looking to get 1% better daily, right? Continuing to close the gap between where we are and where we want to be and continue doing the little things, right? We have our expectations for this week. Write them down, put them on a sticky note, keep them wherever you need to keep them, right? I'm not above anything. If I need to remember something and I know I might struggle, I'm throwing it right on my desktop. So I know. Don't overtrade, right? Can have weird action. Keep small size. Focus on individual names rather than indexes, right? All those things you can write down right now, exactly what I said, right? Put them on a sticky note, slap them on your monitor. So that day, each and every day, you're not waking up like, a goldfish coming around the other side of the bowl and you don't really know what's happening and you're just like kind of like, I'm gonna just free ball this week and see what happens. This ain't the time to free ball, right? We need a plan. Success follows clues, right? So let's pick up on those clues, implement and execute this week. Other than that, y'all, let's have a great rest of the day. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning for our next pre-market prep session. Have a good one.